may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys, we just started the fantasy baseball season. So I want to put this massive disclaimer out here for anybody who maybe is not used to fantasy baseball, anybody who really has not done their research. At this point in the year, we are so early on that literally the projections that we had coming into the season mean 10 times more still, even at this point, than whatever 2021 stats we have seen so far. So using those projections, using what we've seen from these players in recent past, I think the best thing we can do at this time of the year is go through, identify some players that are playing a little bit over their head, some guys that are going to regress back to what we expected them to be in 2021, and then look to sell them high to owners who may be looking at their current statistics going, you know what, these guys are hot, let's trade for them now, and that way you can flip for a profit. Now, of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment telling me about anything that I say is stupid, because y'all know I genuinely appreciate when y'all go down there and tell me why I'm stupid, just because it helps other people watching the videos. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if for whatever reason you have not already. Just passed 600 subscribers, so that is absolutely massive. But anyway, let's get our first player up here, and I'm going to be honest, probably the hardest player on this list to just pin down as an absolute sell high, that sell him for a 10% profit on what you had before. This is going to be Jose Altuve. So obviously you bring up this name and everybody has their own feelings. Everybody can think about something else. Personally, someone that lives in Texas, I want to think about World Series wins, but I know pretty much everybody else that's a fan of Major League Baseball wants to think of trash cans, wants to think of the asterisks. But regardless, let's dive into the player. And he was being drafted around the 89th pick overall in high-stakes fantasy baseball drafts this league. And he was the 9th second baseman off the board in those same leagues. Now, I will say that it's a little bit different here with the Jose Altuve, and that in some leagues you saw him going significantly higher than this. In some leagues, instead of him going in the 8th round, you saw him going in the 6th round, and vice versa. In some leagues, instead of him going in the 8th round, you saw him going in the 10th or 11th round. And that is just because he's a polarizing player. That's just because there are two separate groups that really have strong opinions on Jose Altuve. But the great thing here is, if you're looking to sell him for a profit, you only need to be looking for one owner. Now, I will say, y'all know what we always like to do when we're evaluating these players for fantasy baseball is we like to go to their most recent full season. We like to overlook the 2020 year just because it was so random. There were so many moving variables. We understand that a lot of these players didn't know when, didn't know how they were going to play. And I know we've said it a million times before, but also small sample warning. Now, in the case of Jose Altuve, it is completely different because we know that this Houston Astros team had a ton of things changing in 2020. They were no longer getting away with cheating by calling pitches, so that is something you have to look at, and that's something that you definitely have to take into account. So while if we look at a profile like this from a player, and we see that his 2019 season with 500 at-bats, he had a 298 average, a 353 on base percentage, more importantly, a 550 slugging at the second base position, we would be extremely excited, and I would be saying, hey, you have to ignore 2020. You have to look at the larger sample. That's going to be what's more predictive going forward. But in this case, it's just so hard with what happened with the Astros because it doesn't seem like it's just a coincidence that we saw everything change for Houston, and then all of a sudden, Jose Altuve comes out in 2020, and in 192 at-bats, he has a 219 average, a 286 on-base percentage, and a 344 slugging. Now, we compare this to 2021, and everything across the board is extremely up. I mean, the average is over 350, the slugging's over 500, and it's with 37 at-bats so far. But it really comes down to what are you expecting here with Jose Altuve? Because we also know that this is not a player that's going to give you really any stolen bases at all. I mean, in 2020 he had 2, in 2019 he had 6. Now another year older at 30, it's not like he's getting any faster. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Please, please, please let me know what you think, because this is, like I said, one of the most polarizing players in fantasy baseball. And it's hard to pin down who exactly the real Jose Altuve is. But I think it's probably somewhere in between the 2020 and 2019 season that we saw, but currently in 2021, he is vastly exceeding both years, and there's no way that this can maintain. So if you can find someone in your league that goes, you know what, 2020 was just an outlier, Jose Altuve is who he was in 2019, 2018, 2017, then I think you look to sell. But obviously, if everybody's telling you to take a hike, it's going to be hard to do that just because people have strong opinions with this player. Okay, so now let's get to our next guy, someone else that you look at the initial stats for 2019, and this looks like someone that we'd be all aboard, but this is going to be JD Martinez. Okay, so JD Martinez was going around that 91st overall pick in high stakes league, so he was like back-to-back with Jose Altuve actually playing for the Boston Red Sox. He is 33 years old now. That is something I want to point out because around this age, 33, 34, 35, that's when we need to start considering age in our fantasy baseball projections. And we go through, and this is why I'm a little bit hesitant to go out and just completely say sell him ASAP, because that 2019 year was so good. I mean, he had 575 at-bats, a batting average over 300, an on-base percentage at 383, a slugging over 550. Now, obviously, he's never going to give you any stolen bases. He had 2 stolen bases in 2019, 1 stolen base in 2020, and has none so far in 2021. And like I said with Jose Altuve, it's not like you expect these players that are going into their age 33 season to get any faster. So stolen bases, literally just not going to be a thing with JD Martinez. But on the contrary, if we want to look at that 2020 season, I mean, it was just down across the board. And y'all know I am the first person to just completely overlook the 2020 season for the reasons we said previously, except here in the case of JD Martinez, because he was 32 years old. He did take that step up in age. Now he's 33. And you're looking at that 2020 year, and it's a sharp drop-off. I mean, a 213 average, a 291 on-base percentage, a slugging under 400 as well. Now, you go to 2021 on the other hand, and he's been ridiculous. I mean, he's had 36 at-bats only, but a batting average at 472, an on-base percentage at 500, a slugging over 1,000. I mean, straight up ridiculous. Now, there's no way, nobody is expecting these numbers to stay anywhere close to this. Obviously, if he stays at a batting average around 300, an on-base percentage around 380, and a slugging maybe at 500, that's going to be a great value with where you got him in ADP this year. But what we have to understand is we have to go, you know what? This is a player that is getting older, and he's never going to give you stolen bases. So if these hitting statistics drop off in the slightest, then there's cause for concern. All right, so let's get to our last guy we are going to be talking about. And talking about people that are old, let's get over to Nelson Cruz, 40-year-old DH for the Twins. Now, he was going right in the same range of these other two guys. He was going with that 93rd overall pick. And in 2021, he's been just as impressive. I mean, the sample size is smaller, 27 at-bats, but all these sample sizes are small to look at this point. A 444 average, a 469 on-base percentage, a 926 slugging. Now, obviously, it kind of goes without saying for a hitter like Nelson Cruz, someone who's 40 years old, you're literally never going to expect a stolen base. I mean, he's had 0 stolen bases over the past 3 seasons, so that's not even in his wheelhouse. Now, if we go through what he's done the past 2 years, yeah, he's been a great hitter. You see in 2019, 454 at-bats, a 311 average, a 392 on-base percentage, a 639 slugging. In 2020, in 185 at-bats, you have a 303 average, 397 on-base percentage, and a 595 slugging. But with hitters that start off hot like this, we have to understand that Nelson Cruz just simply is probably not going to have the at-bats that you would want him to have to be that elite difference-making player. To go along with that, he's not going to have any stolen bases whatsoever. There's a significant difference from a player that's going to give you 12 stolen bases over the course of the season versus a player that's going to be giving you 0. And he's 40 years old. So you have to worry about just a drop-off at any point now. I know that we have no signs to worry about that, but still, I mean, at what age does that become a concern? So I will say with Nelson Cruz here, similar to these other guys, just simply the stolen bases aren't going to be there. We know how important that is with fantasy baseball, and it looks like their current seasons are just straight up outliers compared to what we've seen as their recent past. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And yeah, that's it. I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.